What was the business challenge you guys were looking to address with this specific project?
So I would say that the challenge was having the proper guidance with subject matter experts that have rolled out M365 in organizations our size, s- and doing it properly. Not only pushing it out there, but giving us some insight on those gotchas that organizations don't typically think about when they're implementing a new product. So the experience from the Ravanty team on knowing some of those gotchas, and the things that we did not even think about, but they've seen with other clients, that really helped.
Let's just say there was another organization in a similar spot as you were in January, December, or in 2023. What sort of advice would you give to that organization that's sort of looking down the barrel of the same thing, maybe not knowing what the best practice is, having these licenses, and needing to make the most of them?
I would give the advice to seek out a partner that is open to discussion, and that can give suggestions, and that's not only there to sell a product or sell services, but is actually looking in the best interest of the organization that they're working for.
I wasn't a part of the discussions before we got
Yeah.
engaged with, but of course, very much interested in what about Ravanti and your conversations with Roman and Yasai, it made you think that we were the right team to give you what you just mentioned, this objective, straight consulting.
Yeah, and I'll go back to kind of some how we came about even getting introduced to Ravanti. We work with a partner, a broker, and as a IT director, I get approached many times by a lot of different vendors that want to do business. And I just told them right out the gate, I don't need to hear a sales pitch. I don't need to hear how you're better than this other organization. I just want to cut and dry. Um, this is what I can do to help you. This is what I can't do to help you. And just a direct conversation with the vendors, partners, to give me what I need. I like that they were receptive to me just saying, this is what I need. This is where I'm trying to get. This is the timeline I'm being asked to do. And they let me know this is what we can do. This is the best way we would approach it. And they gave me options. And ultimately, they let us decide which option we wanted to go with, and it was successful.
Why the move to the cloud? What would happen if you didn't make the move when you did? Just want to sort of understand that context in terms of the cloud journey.
Yeah, so this part of the cloud journey was basically to we were getting asked a lot about better communication tools, additional security tools for some of our office suite. So it was a path that we needed to take just to be able to accomplish that. As more and more employees, team members are um, they see technology elsewhere. We need to keep up with that technology to make sure that they're working efficiently with the tools we afford them.
How do you feel your environment's more secure, compliant, manageable from administrator perspective, et cetera? What's the difference today than it was, 8, 9, 12 months ago?
So I will say, and then Susanna can probably add to this. When we first did a soft kind of rollout of just the exchange kind of online without the additional tools, I wasn't very confident with the rollout that we did. It was done with a different partner. We There was some misses, or I wouldn't necessarily call them misses, but there was probably some advice that they didn't afford us, that I wish they would have. And just by us being able to openly ask Ravanty questions, getting some answers, and them kind of, giving us some best practice advice, I feel a lot more comfortable with the environment now.
And Susanna, how about you?
Same thing, just knowing that, not just because Josiah is on the call, but that I've always appreciated the technical knowledge that he brought to the team. Of course, I only hear good things from Jason, and like if they say, when I ask questions like why was this decided, oh, it's because it was Ravanty's recommendation, and then they provided best practice documentation and just provided enough information for us to be reassured that they were doing as much as they could to do what was best for the organization. I every time I reached out to Josiah, just because we're talking about the technical piece, he not only replied or answered my questions, but he also provided backup documentation, right? So this is where I'm getting this information from. It was like Microsoft's website, but this is kind of like the summary, and this is what this means. So he was very thorough in answering my questions and providing just additional documentation for us to read. So I think that is very important. And just kind of going back to what Edgar was saying, I feel very confident and very happy with the results, and knowing that we have the baseline to continue with the rollout. I mean, in the beginning, I had no idea of what we were doing, right? Like I didn't understand much of the terms or why we were doing certain things. But the team was very, just willing to guide me and answer, like I said, all my questions. So that is appreciated.
Can you give us some sort of sense about where you were at administratively, and how confident you felt in your abilities to be an administrator for an Office 365 tenant that you may or may not have full understanding of?
So I gotta say, Jason, he's also great. So he's always just trying to learn on his own, and we basically said, "Hey, we're going with 365, and here you go," right? So he's always just learning, sharing some of that knowledge and bringing up concerns and things like that. But I think with having that person, that go-to person that can answer the questions and can guide him, that was also very, very helpful. And now, of course, he's also able, and not only him, I mean, he has been sharing that knowledge with the rest of the team. So now everybody's just more confident around managing it and administering, and just in general, just going out there and say, oh, you know what, maybe this happened because we did this, and then just in general, like any other application, right? But it's not the same as him going and taking some online courses or digging up through documentation and just having that personalized help, part of that team, and being able to um, ask questions. And I want to add that there was that willingness from everybody to not just answer questions related to the project, and because anyone could have been, oh no, this is out of my scope, right? That's not what we're talking about, or that's not what this project is meant to be. But it was always any type of questions that we would ask that really helped towards not only the success of the project, but thinking about future state, right? Knowing what are the tools that we can implement, how to manage licensing and everything that's out there, which is all new to us. It's just very, very good experience.
It's important to everybody's success that your administrators know how to operate and manage the estate according to this. Do you feel like you've received that here, that sort of just however informal, that knowledge transfer and that confidence to do that?
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Mhm.
And then let me just add, because it's something that Edgar mentioned as well, right? So we've been in meetings or projects before where we're trying to resolve an issue or get a project completed, and it becomes just even if we already have a contract with that company, it is a constant like sales pitch, right? Oh, we can implement this, we can implement that, and just like never getting anything completed because there all these other things going on that we can't even focus on the project. But that was also nice, right? So the technical meetings were specifically to address technical issues, technical questions, and that's what it was. Project meetings were project related. If we had 30 minutes allocated, but we only used 10, better for everybody. We were just like, okay, get things done and then move on. It was not just like trying to fill in those gaps or like just trying to take the 30 minutes because we didn't have anything else to do. It was just very nice, those productive meetings. And that was just throughout from meeting one to the end of the project. So that was actually, again, really appreciated.
Mhm.
Likewise, and I think just to add to all the great conversation that we're having, to earlier comment, you know, anytime we start working with a new client, you know, the expectation that we set that, you know, collaboration, transition, or digital transformation is not just about giving the keys to the kingdom to a partner like Ravanty and run with it. And I think from the beginning, you know, with Edgar's leadership and everyone involved, you know, Jason in conversations, it was kind of mutually understood that this is going to be a collaborative effort. End of the day, we're here as advisors, we're here as trusted consultants. But at the end of the day, like, we are successful when we feel we empowered the client, right? We empower the customer, we empowered their organization to do more with their investments because you have invested in the cloud. Our job to make sure that these investments are successful for you. So that's why I just want to echo what you were saying, Susanna, and even like time tracking and project management and technical conversations. I think it was all bi-directional, and thanks to you and the team as well, right, to keep everyone together, keep everything on track. That's why it was absolutely successful. So
The project management is one of the critical components to execution and delivery. If you had something too that you wanted to share with us about how you felt the project management was on this engagement, we'd love to hear it.
You know, I can't always attend every meeting. I tried to attend all of these meetings, but as you'll see in the notes, I wasn't able to always attend them. But what I told Susanna, you know, I always really appreciated the notes afterwards, because I'm typically going back to her and asking later on, you know, how did this meeting go? What's pending? Where we're at with this? I didn't have to do that with this project because, I mean, I got all the notes and I caught myself all up just by reading the notes. So, you know, at that point, if it was just decision points, we could make those, you know, before the next meeting.
Kind of our benchmark for how we were doing is if our executive, if our stakeholder, Edgar, like you, got stopped in the hallway at their organization any day during the week, could they accurately reflect the project status to their executive or whomever? Do you feel like you were always just pretty closely in touch to progress, whether you were on the meeting or not, and could answer those questions internally if asked?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, I used a lot of the scheduling that were sent, especially like for the rollouts that were shared during the meetings. I shared those to brief our CIO on where we were at during the project.
Maybe we could talk a little bit about the adoption and change management, which I think very refreshingly you guys took very seriously and recognized the importance of that in terms of a smooth transition. that didn't overwhelm, say, service desks or cause more confusion or issues than it was supposed to solve. Can you talk to us a little bit about your experience with our adoption and change management work?
I had a very good experience with it. I think as IT, we always forget that change management is part of project implementation. And that's why I wanted to include this in the SOW. And the first drafts that I saw of all the tip sheets, I mean, I think I remember telling Susanna, I was like, why can't we do this? Because the way that it was written, and the layouts and things like that, were very easy to understand, and I feel it'll keep the users engaged when we share those tip sheets. It's not, we're used to, at least in our organization, we're used to sending a step-by-step list with no visuals to keep the user engaged. So that really was helpful.
And Suzanne, I know you continue to do a lot of work with our adoption and change management team. What was your experience with us?
When we rolled out those instructions to I want to say 900, 1200, 900 users, I think. I kid you not, I don't think we got not even maybe 10, 15 calls to service desk. And that is, I'm talking about, like, we didn't get any calls to service desk just saying, hey, I'm having this issue. The calls that we had were because for some reason there was an issue with their account. They have a previous authenticator in place, things like that, like more on the technical side, rather than because of the instructions were not clear. Does that make sense? So all I'm saying is great work.
How do you think the project would have gone? How successful do you think it would have been without the adoption and change management that Ravanty helped provide?
Users would have been in the dark, right? It's communication is a big part of what we do, and it should be. We could do more, but imagine we just roll out and we just say, hey, here, 3 steps, download this, and this is what's happening, and just do it. Besides confusion, users would be very confused, and just not knowing what to do, right? A lot of calls to service desk, which means hours and hours of staff just dedicated to answer those calls. I mean, management escalations, downtime, right? Going back to it. So it's hours and hours of staff, and also downtime for those, not only for CEO, VPs, and everybody. I mean, I try not to look at my email while at home, but imagine that I had an emergency and I had to, and then I have to come to the office and do that. Of course, I would be mad at IT for breaking my stuff. So
What feedback, or can you share any feedback you received from your users? We have the CEO example, which is great. What feedback did you get from users?
I would say the feedback that I have heard is not directly towards the project, but I'm getting a lot of requests. How do we add this to Teams? How do we add this to Teams? So I mean, it's getting adopted for sure by our users, that they're actually talking to the vendors they work with to try to integrate applications into the Teams environment.
And I'm hoping you're not alone in that, which brings me to think about like productivity and possible ROI. Any metrics or anecdotes you can share with us around how productivity or return on investment from this licensing you've seen so far?
I don't have metrics yet. I know, at least from an IT kind of workflow perspective, it's improved our communication when we have issues, whether big or small. We as a team communicate right away. So what could be seen as a big issue, us all leaders have some insight, some input, so we address issues a lot faster.
security and a trust posture is kind of in our DNA. You know, we know the space that you guys operate in. Edgar, interested maybe talking a little bit about how you approached, like what you were thinking of in terms of security, maybe what you were concerned with in terms of security heading into this project, and maybe now where you're at, again, in terms of security that we're here.
So I would say my biggest concerns were basically the information being out in the cloud and anyone being able to access it from anywhere. It's still a concern, of course, because you can never be 100% secure, right? But I feel a lot more. I have a greater comfort level now with the implementation from Ravanty, and this goes back again just because of offering best practices and changing, you know, those security settings and letting us know, you know, this is the way this function works. If you do this, you may need to do this. So even from the management level, they gave us options and told us, you know, what would happen if some settings are changed. And the one that they're finalizing is the retention policies. You know, or that was an ask by legal to set those policies. That way we don't keep too much information more than that's necessary. That has a possibility of being lost. So even the help with that, I feel a lot better.
How has the transition to Entra ID for MFA like enhanced your overall security and you know and kind of the technical aspects of the Microsoft tool sets to enhance that? Do you feel like you're at a good point to kind of answer that?
To me, the enrollment of Entra ID was a lot easier. So the other thing is with this, we're going to have massive cost savings because not only are we going to be able to cancel our Okta account or contract because it's already part of this license. From a management standpoint, it's one less system we're managing.